Hey, it's Rick Piven from Diabolical Films here with
Chris Doobie
of
Diabolical Films.
We're decided we're gonna do this little audio/video diary thing for you guys leading up to the release of our film this summer, and this is our first episode.
Yeah, and we just figured what we might do is see if we can get it to work and give you guys a little bit of an intro to who some of the characters are in this movie that we're making that is currently, right this minute, titled Avalanche. But
for the moment.
Titled Avalanche.
But also right now, too, if you're listening to this, you're probably listening to it right on our YouTube channel, so make sure you share this video so everybody can see it.
That would be nice. Also, you may have questions. Leave them in the comments section, and we will answer them in the next one. Yeah. There you go.
It's a good idea. Where do you want to start? What are we doing? We're gonna do factions today.
Yeah, we're gonna do factions, but a quick Avalanche is a crime drama set in Berlin, New Hampshire. The reason that it's set there is that's where we live and that's where we got our locations. But Berlin is unique in that it is geographically halfway between Boston and Montreal. So the idea is that these different criminal factions from those big cities pick this neutral meeting spot in Berlin to conduct their illicit transactions safely. And other characters get into this, and well, that's the whole story. But we're going to tell you a little bit about who these criminal factions are.
Yes. We're going to start with the Boston gang today.
The Boston Bastards.
The Boston... yeah. Well, we won't get rid of some of the joke surprises. The other names for them. But we're going to start with Peter. Peter is the... he wants to be number one, but he's not. He's like he's Nero's right-hand man. And Peter kind of runs the show when Nero's not around because that's what he's used for. You know, he's sent to jobs. So Peter is the one that comes up to Berlin to do the drug stuff with his friend Paul. Peter and Paul. Nothing religious going on there.
Right, and Peter's going to be played by Paul McClarney, who is this like really ultra-religious, conservative, uptight guy.
Totally.
Right. Ungovernable Films. Paul McClarney, he really brings that. He epitomes a Boston dirtbag real well.
Yeah, he's good at it.
He's got that Boston dirtbag thing going on. We were very, very fortunate to get him. He's a busy dude, and we've worked with him a few times in the past, mostly on his movies with Ungovernable Force.
Yeah.
And, getting him and getting the whole Boston connection through his associate, Dave Sullivan, who's also a good friend of ours, was awesome.
Exactly.
And Peter has a sidekick, underling?
You call him a sidekick. I mean, it's like an abusive lover.
Yeah.
Like, the sidekick, that would be Paul. Paul is the... I'd almost say that Paul is, if you're watching Inspector Gadget and you remember the mad criminal like gang, none of them really talked. They're just there to be the muscle-ish, whether that muscle is their head or not. That's kind of what Paul is like. Paul's like the quiet, strong type that hung out with Pete.
Paul's going to be played by Pat Tierney, who's a guy that I have done a lot of work with in the New England film scene. It's small, so word travels quick. I love Pat.
So Pat's awesome.
Because every time I get to work on a set with Pat, I know that he is going to make me laugh hysterically 4 or 5 times during the day. He's been in some really cool stuff. Paragods he does a lot of his own web stuff. Check him out. He's always playing these goofy characters. Convincingly played a dead body for a full-length feature film. So Pat Tierney is quite adept at what all he does.
Oh, yeah. And then we get Nero playing into the mix. Nero is the crime boss of the Boston gang. Not the strong, silent type. Strong, mouthy type. Because Nero is, even though he's Pete's boss, you kind of get the impression that he doesn't like Pete, but he deals with Pete because Pete gets the job done. So Nero is the, I wouldn't say he's like the godfather, but maybe the Tony Soprano.
He's like middle management a little bit. Nero is played by a guy who does a very good job at being disgusted by the people around him. Sean Allen, who does Paragods and is also another New England filmmaker. Sean's from Lynn, Mass, so he's got that real solid Lynnish brogue, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And he is adept at perpetually having a disgusted look on his face, and it wasn't really a hard choice. He was kind of our choice from the beginning for who ought to play this guy.
Yeah.
Sean really brings a gravity and a weight to the character, and he's definitely was able to do both the scenes in Boston and some other stuff for us. And Sean plays Nero.
Yeah. Now we have Frankie Stiletto. We can't talk about a lot about him without giving out what he does.
You'll know him when you see him.
Frankie's the muscle, I'd say, of Nero. He's his go-to guy for when he needs to get a job quickly done.
Frank Favara has a sinister face. Nicest guy in the world. He's just got this demonic face when he's on the job and trying to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen a lot of that because Frank usually does comedy, but he's got this really sharp kind of turn that he takes, and with one look on his face, and he doesn't have to say much, if anything.
Yeah.
And you know that something...
He's a tall, imposing guy, too.
He certainly is. And last is Giuseppe.
Giuseppe's got a small role in this movie. He has to carry a bag. He's the bag boy for the Boston gang. He is, he's kind of a crucial character because something needs to get done during a conversation, so he has to go do it because he's not part of the conversation, nor is he part of the gang that comes up to Berlin. But if he screwed his job up, then the Boston gang would have screwed theirs up.
Big Bro was crowbarred into this movie because he is an awesome dude, amazing martial artist. I worked with him before. He's just a pleasure to be around. Had a great fight scene with him in this movie we did, Holland Assassin, where he played a ninja.
Played a ninja that blew out of the ground.
Beat the hell out of me for a good 45 seconds straight. It was great. But we love Nick, and we had an opportunity to create a character because we heard we got him, and that's what you do when you get the chance to work with somebody like Nick.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much the Boston bastards, as they are, who are meeting in Berlin with the Canadian biker gang.
The Canadian biker gang.
Le Chooch Moose.
Le Chooch Moose. And Le Chooch Moose, the part of the gang you see is led up by Jean-Guy. Jean-Guy is, what does the vest say again? The captain?
Right, he's the road captain.
He's the road captain. And he's straight up, greasy, curly mustache, poutine-eating Canadian. And listen, I'm half Canadian, so I can say that. And, but he's kind of the Canadian gang isn't the smartest group in the bunch. He is an honorable gentleman, and he is there to do what is right, but it doesn't necessarily ever go the way he wants it to.
Foul-mouthed, short-tempered French-Canadian Adam Cloutier. I don't know why he got this role, and I don't know why he was chosen specifically for this part, but he grew an incredible mustache and is essentially brings a lot to the character with his accent, which is just this side of Bugs Bunny villain.
Oh yeah, he potentially was typecast.
Good possibility. Adam brings a lot to that, and Adam as Jean-Guy has a sidekick.
The sidekick is
Logan.
Logan. What's his vest say?
I believe he's Sex Machine or something.
Sex Machine or the man.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Right, close enough. Big Daddy Logan.
And Brandon, how do you pronounce that last name?
Brandon LaFlamme.
Oh, that was the easy one.
That's the easy one.
Right. Brandon was a sound guy. We love him to death. We needed to get him into the movie and give him a nice meaty role to play. He does really good with wide-eyed expressions and being surprised as to what's going on. And he brings a physical presence to the role because both the Canadian bikers are really big guys.
They're bigger guys, and it's meant to look like that. And if you could tell by their vest titles, there might be a little something more going on there. But Brandon is also very adept at rocking a Wolverine beard, who is a Canadian comic book character.
They pulled off Canadian biker gang very, very well.
Yes.
And then last but not least, we have the Berlin criminal element that kind of plays into this. And I guess we'll start
The Berlin
small and
Goons.
work our way up.
Yes. Who do we got first?
There's a guy named Henry. He doesn't have a lot to say, but he has a very intimidating Terminator-like presence in the movie of anybody that's actually in the Berlin gang, because these guys are straight up, they're buffoons.
Oh, yeah, they're goofballs.
I mean, their job is to essentially watch a building, and all of a sudden these guys think they're the Corleones.
Yeah.
And of all of the people that are in the Berlin gang, Hunter is the one that you, if you were forming a gang, might want. Hunter Savage. That's his real name. Yeah. That's not the name of the character.
And we changed the character to Henry.
Because we're stupid.
Hunter is, he is a brother in bread. He works with me selling bread. And when I was writing the movie, I was working with him a lot. And I was like, oh, I'll throw you in there. I'll give you a role, you know, put some friends in there and stuff. And he was probably the most nervous person on set when he was there, because he swore that he wasn't going to remember his lines, he wasn't going to do a good job, nothing. He's literally one of the best actors in this movie. He sells his performance like he's been doing it his entire life. I was definitely happy with the grabbing him. That was a good job by me.
Deke is the angry loudmouth in Berlin. He is a kind of a bully type character that has a lot of stuff to say, a bit of a history that we're not going to get into too much. But he's a very physically intimidating guy. But the thing about his character is it's written in that he used to be a little guy.
Yeah.
So he was kind of a little chubby guy when he was younger, and now he's this big muscle-bound, good-looking guy.
Yes, and the funny story about that is that Nick Tremblay plays him, and I've known Nick since like kindergarten. And when we were kids, he was the small, scrawny kid. He didn't play sports. He was just a small guy. After high school, Nick went to college for music and all his music therapy and all that stuff. He decided that physical therapy was going to be his career choice, and now Nick could kill anybody. Nick's
a big dude.
He's a big dude, and but it fits the character that he used to be a little guy, because he was. I mean, he was still tall, but he was skinny, and but Nick is definitely the complete opposite of the character of Deke, but he was so sold on that character that he memorized the lines before the tryouts. Like, that's the one he wanted to do. So
I was real impressed with him, like, because there's a bit where, you know, being a loudmouth gang member from Berlin, you have to use colorful language, which he was definitely all about. But then we got to this one, like, slur, and he's like, I don't want to say that. Like, all right.
Like, cool, we'll change it.
I don't want to get hit, so
you don't have to say we can take out slurs. So, next we have Sean. Sean is the new guy in the gang. In the movie, it's probably his first day. He is hired on to be a driver, we'll say. He's a driver, but the Berlin gang, they're all pushers. You know, they sell drugs in the alleys in the town. But Sean needs to learn the ropes, and that's why he's hanging out with Deke and other associates.
Sean's played by Justin Fortin, who is, I guess now, the filmmaker in New England.
Yeah, right?
The guy is a comic book maker, showed up, complete milquetoast. He auditioned, and we're like, you know, you're auditioning for a gang member, right?
Yeah.
And then he just turned it on, and all of a sudden, he's like a very dangerous person.
Yes.
And Sean actually
psychopath.
Volunteered to PA, a production assistant, a lot on the set.
Yeah.
And then as things changed and a couple of other positions became available, Sean just kind of stepped in. His role got bigger as the thing went along, and now he's playing a pivotal role in it. Sean can be seen in the upcoming Hearts of New England, which is a web series that he's been working on, directing it, writing it himself.
Yeah.
Dude's on fire.
And he's so good at his role that we keep calling him Sean, even though his name's Justin Fortin.
Right, Justin Fortin. Yeah, there's that.
It's what we do.
And then another member of the gang is Rags, who's a relatively quiet and somewhat funny guy. Maybe the most dangerous character in the movie, because Rags has sort of a not even a temper to him. Some of the other people have a temper, but while the other members of the gang are doing the talking, Rags is the guy who's going to throw fists.
Yeah.
Without saying anything.
And the guy who plays Rags, Adam Villanueva, is also the very quiet type. I've known Adam since we were kids, and he's my video game buddy. You know, we played video games and stuff all the time. He works in a restaurant. He's not an actor. I think he said he did like drama in school. He tried it out and stuff like that, but he was really interested in it because he worked at one of the restaurants I delivered bread to for a while. So I was talking about it with them all the time, and he was super interested in it. So we gave him a chance, and he rocked it.
He killed it.
Yeah,
like he turned into stone cold Latino
like,
psychopath.
Yeah, he's like, what is Rags like? Well, he's the stoner, so he's the quiet type, but he's the one at the flip of the switch could murder everybody in the room. Oh, okay, I got it. And then he just went with it. It was great.
And I side-eyed him for the rest of the first few days on set because he was that good at playing Looney. Then there's Tommy, who's played by Rick.
That's me.
We're going to get more into Tommy at a later date, but Tommy's character is a Elmore Leonard henchman. Elmore Leonard always had this bit where you'd have this sort of second-tier almost character that was a villain.
Yeah.
And then as the story goes along, he gets bigger and bigger. Think like Robert De Niro in Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
You know, so like he seems kind of like he's a nice almost guy, but then
he just flips a switch.
Then he shoots, you know, Bridget Fonda from out of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
Lewis, and boom. So that was sort of when we made it. But we'll get more into the Tommy character, assuming.
Yeah, when we start talking about story, assuming you guys like this and we do more episodes of this, we'll do a big story episode, and Tommy is a big part of the story.
And last but not least, Diamond in the Rough.
Frankie is the leader of the Berlin gang. He's the connection to Boston, and he is also the brother of a member we'll talk about in the family episode. He is
the Berlin Godfather.
He's the Berlin Godfather. He is, if you close your eyes and you think older, greasy, gangster,
open shirt, gold
chain, that should be in like 50s, 60s gangster movies, that's Frankie. And we have him in Berlin.
Stephen Connolly, actor extraordinaire. Stephen's actually probably the most accomplished actor on this list. He was actually in Good Will Hunting, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he really gave us a whole bunch of stuff.
I mean, was great.
He auditioned for a couple of different roles. He had a beard. We were like, you would be great with your voice for this character, but with the beard, I don't know if it works. He sends us another audition, beard
with
gone.
no beard, yeah.
So it's like, wow. And he's got this like gravelly voice. He's probably going to end up being the narrator of the bookends of this film. He's got a presence.
Oh, yeah.
And when you see him on screen, you know that's like,
the guy.
Those are the moments that you want to watch. I really equate him almost to like, he's just great.
Yeah.
Just every time he's been on scene, everybody we've showed it to has been like, yeah, where did you find him?
Yeah.
And he definitely brought a lot to it. Works for Caramel M&Ms. Loves them.
Yeah,
can't get enough
that's what he gets paid.
Caramel M&Ms. We were very fortunate to land him as well. Oh. And we are closing in on 20 minutes almost, which is...
So we're going to... I think we're going to say our goodbyes here. The other thing we do have to say, though, is that Stephen is really good at singing Frank Sinatra.
Stephen is really good
every time in between scene, Frank Sinatra.
Definitely Frank
Sinatra. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything about this, if you want to know more, if you want to know less, you can tell us to shut up, too. Leave comments down below in the YouTube video. Again, this is on our Diabolical page on YouTube, so you share that away with your friends. And if you're interested in anything specific, then, ask us, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. We'll even call you out if you want us to. If you want to be anonymous, say anonymous.
Next episodes, we're going to try to get some of the actors, some of the other characters in, some of the other producers to talk on this thing. Probably show some clips as we get closer to the conclusion.
As we get closer, this episode's got we got pictures and stills and stuff like that going with our voice, showing the characters and stuff. But as we get closer to completion of the draft of the film, we'll be able to start showing some clips too, little snippets from the movie without giving too much away. And I think next week next episode, I don't know if it's next week how we're doing it. The next one we'll probably also start talking about like family and story, with this instead of now that we've got the gangs out of the way.
Well, yeah, we wanted
Now
to
we
get
can
an
make
easy
it.
one.
Now we can get it wholesome.
Right. We wanted a good easy win for the first one, and talking
Exactly.
about how great these guys were to work with and how awesome their characters are was an easy win.
There we go.
So I think it's almost time to call it a day.
Yeah.
And we made it 20 minutes without saying fuck, so you owe me $5.